Well, in terms of rock songs,
Mm-hmm.
where do you rank Eye of the Tiger? Survivor's Eye of the Tiger
What do you
from the
mean?
Rocky 3
What's
soundtrack.
your? I understand the song. Thank you for
Yeah.
clarifying.
Okay.
Eye of the Tiger, but like, it would have been a tough starting point if I didn't know what the song Eye of the Tiger was. If I did not know, if I was not aware of the song Eye of the Tiger, I would say to your question, where does it rank in the greatest rock songs of all time? Quite low if I had not heard of it, but I have. I'm familiar with the song. What's your different, like when you say greatest rock songs of all time, what's your definition? What are the
Well,
parameters?
I guess the question is, so I'll give you some context. So
Yeah.
Iona occasionally likes to get her face painted before we drop her off at daycare, and today she wanted to be a tiger. And so when we got into the car, she was like, "I
She
want a song."
started that, of course, January 6th, wasn't it? When she started doing
Yeah, that's right. She wanted to go as the Viking. She wanted the Viking helmet. I was like, no, 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 no.
She said, it's time to storm the Princess Castle, Daddy.
Yeah. The macadamia castle. She was like, those monarchs have had it too good for too long. After the coronation, where they coronated the new macadamia king,
Where we all had to pledge our allegiance to the Macadamia King.
No, she wanted to hear a song about tigers, and on the hop, the only song I could think of with tiger was "Eye of the Tiger." And so I put it on, and like my memory of that, it's so intrinsically linked with Rocky 3. You know, it's the opening montage of Rocky 3, which is for context. So Rocky 1, Rocky, you know, has a 1 in a million shot to take on Apollo Creed. Doesn't win, but, you know, wins pride. Rocky 2, he gets a rematch and he actually becomes a champion. So at the start of Rocky 3, the montage you see is Rocky just riding high. He's knocking out chumps left, right, and center. He's appearing on the Muppet Show. He's riding a motorbike. And I think this is also maybe the first or second of the Rocky films that Slide directed. And there's a real vanity project feel to it. There's a lot of kind of slow-mo and muscles and all this kind of stuff going on.
It was basically his Instagram reels before there was Instagram reels.
100%. You know, and there is this, like, coincidentally, I don't know, I mean, maybe this is all linked, but I found this whole subculture of like Sly Stallone fan pages on Instagram that are really like oddly specific. Like, for instance, he did this arm wrestling movie called Over the Top, where he plays a truck driver called Lincoln Hawk, you know, who's estranged from his son and is trying to win enough money in underground arm wrestling competitions, or maybe they're legit arm wrestling competitions. I don't know.
I mean, what's more likely? That there is a bunch of legit arm wrestling competitions or that there's an underground arm wrestling league?
And so he's trying to win those to win his son back, or to prove he can take custody of his son. Anyway, I found this like Instagram page that was like it's something like at Lincoln Hawk Love or at Lincoln Hawk Fan or something.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what is this? And it's all these stills and behind the scenes shots from the vastly forgotten action film Over the Top. But then that linked me to all these, and they all come from like the Eastern sort of, it's like Eastern Europe. You know how they sort of say there's certain stars who still have a lot of cachet in Eastern Europe, and it's like stars like Arn. It's all the strong men of the kind of 80s and stuff like that. That's where that's where all this kind of attention flows. So the montage, that's where Eye of the Tiger kicks in. And I think for any kid of our generation, it was a real, like, you know, you hear those dun, 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 and it's like it's motivating. Like, it's kind of it just gets your energy going. It's kind of like it was new metal before new metal. You know how you said that new metal is perfectly designed for kind of like wrestling promos? That's like Eye of the Tiger. But then I was like, is it just because of my fondness for Rocky in that montage? Like, if I listen to this song in isolation, is it actually a good song? Or is it just because it's attached to a very popular film franchise and is deployed masterfully in a very exciting montage sequence? Because I don't know. I was listening to it and I'm like, it's got a great kind of that dun, 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 whatever you call that, like a riff. And the that's all cool. But then when it gets into the song, there's like keyboards and it gets all soft rocky. And
But I also think like what you're saying is that there is an element of it that driving beat that you're
Yeah.
talking about at the start. It still has a bit of that disco flavor almost
Yes.
underneath it for a rock song, right? Like
Yeah.
particularly in
the percussion is very disco. Yeah.
Like if that was in like Saturday Night Live or something, with John
Yeah.
Travolta walking down the street, you'd be like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, that kind of makes sense as well. Do I think that the riffs are strong enough that it would be an iconic song outside people knowing it from Rocky? Yes, because I think it was. Like, I think there were people who enjoyed that song, and that was like a big rock song. And it's certainly like you've seen it used as a motivational song. I guess it's association with motivation, like, in clips of, sporting highlights and things like that it might be used. Probably does come from its association with Rocky, though. Like the reason that you'll see a basketball montage or a football montage or any of those sort of things over that song is because probably the person who put that montage together grew up watching Rocky and thought it would look cool.
But it became the unofficial anthem for Rocky. They used it again in Rocky 4, like that famous kind of like, it's not a graphic, I guess, but you see the Russian glove and the American glove come together and explode at the opening of Rocky 4, and they're playing Eye of the Tiger. So, because the Rocky theme in itself is a real, like, uplifting, inspirational, motivating song. That's more of your orchestral, gonna fly now. But then you got the rock version. But because I was watching her listening to it, because I'm like, it's not really a song about tigers. They mention the eye of a tiger, and it's really just about a guy, getting his will to live back. He's back on the street. He's got the skills, got the glory, blah blah blah. But Iona was like enjoying it. I could see she does this thing now when she listens to music where she actually starts to move to the beat. And I could see her nodding. And then we got into daycare. We stopped the song and I said, "Did you like that?" And she's like, "Yeah." And I said, "Do you have the eye of the tiger?" And she looked at me and she was like, "Rah!" And I was like, "Oh my God." It actually, like, it works. The message of the song is to be the best. Yeah. You've got to have the eye of the tiger. Do you want some facts about the song Eye of the Tiger?
Yeah, I would absolutely love some facts about the song Eye of the Tiger.
Okay. All right. So it's the band was Survivor. It was released as a single from their third album of the same name, and was also the theme song in the film Rocky 3. Theme song, does that count? Okay. Which was released the day before the single. Okay, so definitely the film is kind of how people, it wasn't like they took a popular song and put it in the film. It was the film and the song happened simultaneously. It was recorded at the request of Rocky 3 star Sylvester Stallone after Queen denied him permission to use Another One Bites the Dust. That was the original song Stallone intended to use as the Rocky 3 theme.
Wow. Yeah.
You can sort of hear it.
Eye of the Tiger. You can do a mashup of those two very easily. Hang on, we've got a lawsuit. Call Ed Sheeran. He might be able to give us some advice.
The version of the song that appears in Rocky 3 is a demo version of the song. The film version also contained tiger growls, which does not appear on the album version. And it features the original Survivor singer Dave Bickler on lead vocals. The song is also the title song to the 1986 film of the same name, Eye of the Tiger. Okay, I didn't even know there was a film. It gained tremendous MTV and radio airplay, and it topped the charts in 1982. In the United States, it held the #1 spot on the Billboard 100. Okay, so I think regardless of what you think of this song, it's an undeniable hit, right? You don't get to #1 in the States without being
no, this is a hit song and it's endured. That's the other thing about it. Like, I mean, I don't think classic rocks never stop playing Eye of the Tiger.
Stayed there for 6 consecutive weeks, and it's the band's only song to reach the top of the charts. And was the #2 single of 1982 behind.
Oh, okay, great. Okay, give me some Charlie Clausen style clues here about like.
Okay, an Australian artist, believe it or not.
Oh, an Australian artist in 1982. Men at Work.
No, a female artist.
Olivia Newton-John.
And the song was very much of the same theme, the same kind of era.
Yeah, so Xanadu?
No, more of it. Like, think about what Rocky, that montage in Rocky, what that's celebrating. It's all about like...
Let's get physical.
Physical. I guess in 1982, people really wanted messages about health. Okay. It spent 15 consecutive weeks in the top 10, the second longest run of 1982, behind another song by an 80s artist. Okay, I'll give you a Clausen-style clue. Yep. if I was going to send a cantaloupe,
If you were going to send a cantaloupe.
if I was going to send a
Yeah.
cantaloupe away for the summer,
Yeah.
I might send him I might send it to this place.
John Cougar Mellencamp.
I didn't even get to my big cat clue. You nailed it. That's right. Hurt So Good by John Cougar Mellencamp. This top 10 run is tied with the aforementioned Another One Bites the Dust, as well as Physical, as the longest run in the top 10 for a number one song during the 1980s decade. That's got to make Sly feel good, right?
Right.
So Queen say to him, get stuffed. And so it's like, well, I'll just get another band to write a Queen song, and that will become the second highest charting song of the 80s besides Another One Bites the Dust.
I mean,
that's amazing. Sly was at the peak of his powers, right?
It must have been amazing, really, because the one thing that we know, I mean, look, he's been super successful, and look, he's got his absolute talents, right? Like as both an actor and a director, and like, all these sort of things. He's got talents.
Well, especially considering what he is. Like when you think of the unlikeliness of him when he started his career.
Well, that's what I mean. Like the Italian stallion, the soft porn actor who can barely talk, who it's so unlikely that he was such a huge cultural influence, both in the movies that he was making, and how reflective they were of the era, but the fact that it had a cultural
filmmaking.
But also had a cultural footprint that was outside the movies, and is still, I mean, this story, the one we're talking about, they're still making movies based on this myth, this story. Like it's still happening today.
Yeah. The band won an award for Best Rock Performance or Rock Duo at the Grammy Awards. Okay. So it's award-winning as well as chart-topping. And in September 1982, it also peaked at number one in the United Kingdom and stayed at the top of the UK charts for 4 consecutive weeks.
There you go.
It was certified platinum in 1982, signifying 2 million sales of the vinyl copies of the song, and it has sold over 4.1 million digital downloads in the United States by February 2015. And it was voted VH1's 63rd greatest hard rock song.
There you go.
I don't dispute it's great, but I dispute whether it's hard rock. I think it's actually quite soft. I think it's soft rock. Does soft rock have to be love songs?
You could find it in both of those lists. I think it's probably the chorus that it takes it into a bit of like a hard, like what they consider hard rock. Like if it was all just like the verse, then I think it would be a soft rock song.
I think it's the opening is what makes it hard rock. It's the dun 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 dun, and then when it gets into the vocals, it's got that disco kind of, and then the really high kind of lead vocals. And he's not really. It's the eye of the tiger. It's the thrill of the fight, rising up to the challenge of our rivals. I guess it's got kind of hard rock implications. It's not about love or anything like that. Co-writer John Petterick explained the song's title. At first, we wondered if calling it Eye of the Tiger was too obvious. The initial draft of the song, we started with, it's the eye of the tiger, it's the thrill of the fight, rising up to the spirit of our rival, and the last known survivor stalks his prey in the night, and it all comes down to survival. We were going to call the song Survival. The band Survivor. We're going to call the song
Survival by Survivor.
In the rhyme scheme, you can tell we had set up rival to rhyme with survival. At the end of the day, we said, are we nuts? That would be so strong. And rival doesn't have to be perfectly rhymed with tiger. So we made the right choice and went with Eye of the Tiger. Yes, absolutely. You shouldn't, if your band is called Survivor, don't release a song called Survival.
Yeah, I don't think we would be having a conversation right now about, do you remember that song Survival by Survivor?
Well, it's weird though. Is that because didn't Destiny's Child, they sampled Eye of the Tiger in one of their songs, didn't they? Dun, 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 dun. Michelle, can you handle this? Beyonce, can you handle this? What's that song? I don't think you're ready for this jelly. Isn't that Eye of the Tiger?
Because your body's too
bootylicious.
Bootylicious.
Is that what the song's
How could we have forgotten the Bootylicious era?
More accolades for the song. It was nominated for the 1982 Academy Award for Best Original Song, but lost to. This is a very much a soft rock song.
Okay,
it's a duet.
Mm-hmm.
Parodied in The Simpsons. The movie was parodied in The Simpsons. It is the title.
Thank you for really narrowing it down by saying it was something that was parodied in The Simpsons.
Well, it's been parodied a lot.
Yeah.
There's a final scene of the film is quite famous. The title of the film is an inherent contradiction. No, it's not a contradiction. It's a duality, not a contradiction.
A duality.
A duality of man. He can be both a blank and a blank.
Man can be both a. All
right. How about I give you a clue to this song?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay. So the opposite of this hate would keep us down below.
Love will lift us up where we
don't
belong.
deserve to be.
Okay, sure. All right. Well, you could have just told me what the song was called based on that clue.
I want to hear the song "Hate Leaves Us Down Below Where We Don't Want to Be," where we don't belong.
Absolutely do not belong. Where we're trespassing. Hate leaves us down below where we trespass.
What film's that from?
I don't know. What film is that
The
from?
Duality of Man.
Yeah.
If I was to say to you, "What are you doing here?" Because I've got nowhere else to go. What film's that from? If I said gerbil.
Richard Gere.
Yes, correct. Just awful, isn't it? That urban myth. Like, I only have to say gerbil and you immediately like
yeah, I can't remember. An officer and a gentleman.
An officer and a gentleman. Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen An Officer and a Gentleman. Have you ever seen it?
Yeah. It's good. It's a good film. And, it's an old school 80s romance. Apparently,
is the officer and the gentleman both the same guy? Is that both Richard Gere? Is he the officer and the gentleman?
He's the officer and the gentleman. He's a screw up. He's a kid from the wrong side of the tracks who joins the army and reaches the rank of officer and gets the girl. So he's both an officer and a gentleman.
Sounds great.
You would love
it. I can't believe I've never watched it.
So they won Best Rock Performance at the Grammy Awards, but it was nominated for Song of the Year, but lost to Willie Nelson. Okay, lawsuits. All right, here we go. There's been quite a few lawsuits.
Okay.
Mainly to do with Republicans, which is strange.
Oh, is this people who use it as their theme song? Yes, right. Okay.
Yeah. So in 2012, Survivor sued Republican presidential candidate Newt Gingrich in Illinois federal court for using the song without authorization as the entrance music to political rallies. The suit was later settled out of court. Mitt Romney. It's the same year Sullivan also admitted that Mitt Romney, also a Republican candidate, should stop playing "Eye of the Tiger" of the campaign. Romney agreed to drop the song from the campaign's playlists. Mike Huckabee, Frank Sullivan's Rude Music Company, filed a lawsuit in federal court in Chicago, Illinois in 2015 against former governor of Arkansas and Republican presidential candidate Mike Huckabee for using "Eye of the Tiger" at a political rally without permission. The rally took place when Kim Davis, a Kentucky county clerk, was released from jail after spending 5 days for refusing to issue a marriage license to a same-sex couple in Kentucky. Right. Well, that's
I'm enjoying this.
Survivor.
Yeah, Survivor. Like, firstly, I love that they're willing to sue. That's what I'm enjoying about Survivor. But secondly, I do like that they're fighting the political fight, because you can imagine that some of their fan base, some of the people who love Eye of the Tiger, would be people who absolutely might be at those, political rallies for those sort of people. Like, you could absolutely get that. And the fact that they're willing to say, "Hey, don't do this," is good, I think.
Well, it's "Eye of the Tiger," and the other song that always seems to be getting played at like political rallies and is "We're Not Going to
Take It" by Twisted Sister.
Yeah, which Dee Snider is like he's very anti-conservative and he hates it. He's constantly laying out lawsuits, and I think even the message of the song is a rebellion against like conservative values. Like, the irony is the song is actually a rallying cry against conservatism.
Have they never seen the film clip. To remember, what are you going to do with your life? You know, I want to rock.
To see the full video, join our Patreon.
Patreon.com/Tofop.